Relationships is what we are all about on Lifestyle on a Wednesday. And, well, I think the song that Sophia Wanuna, my colleague, was quoting was sung by a lady known as Gloria Gaynor, if I'm not wrong. No romance without finance. Now, I'm not sure if that song became popular because it was really a nice song or because it augured well in terms of making sense. No romance without finance. And they've also said that money cannot buy you love, but it surely can tear your love apart. Is that true or not? Well, this is a conversation we also welcome you to have with us right here. You can do that via Twitter, and that's at Michael G. Gitonga or at Sophia Wanuna. We'll also open up the phone lines in case you'd like to contribute in terms of your experiences, and maybe you have questions to the panel, who I'll introduce now. And with us in the studio is Chris Hart, who is a relationship expert. He is a household name now, I'm sure, know him very well. Thank you for coming. We also have Pastor Tony Kema, who is a senior pastor for KAG Parklands, also known as River of God. Welcome, gentlemen. And you guys forgot to give me the memo for the dress code. It looks like you're color-coded.
Yeah. We also forgot to give them orange.
Yes,
you know.
Yes, exactly. And also Sophia Wanuna, who was trying to run away from the set, but we asked her, you know, we are sensitive to the 1/3 gender rule. 1 out of 3. So, yeah, we are still making sure that we are constitutionally correct in terms of keeping gender. But now the question is, of course, no romance without finance. And let me start with you, Pastor Tony Kema. I know you have a lot of experience with premarital counseling and also counseling even after marriage. Is money an important part of a relationship?
I think it would be naive to assume that it's not, but it's not the issue, but it's an integral part of human life. Because it's a reason why we wake up in the morning to go to work. And you grow up being told that, you know, you should work hard, go to school, make your grades, so that you shall get a good job and make money.
So it forms a huge part of who we are.
It is a huge part of who we are.
And as a result, of course, we cannot ignore it.
Yes.
Chris, I know you're normally very vocal in terms of economy and, you know, some of the issues that we have, especially with relationships. What's your take in terms of how important money is or finances are in a relationship?
Well, it depends who you're talking to. If you're talking to the guys, when they look for a wife, they don't care. They look for...
They don't care if she's earning or not?
It just doesn't matter to them. They don't think about that at all. They think about youth and beauty and intellect and kindness and all the other nice things, but money just isn't on the list. Now, when you reverse the issue and ask the women, it's first on the list. Now, I know they will say when they're interviewed by somebody with a clipboard, you know, that, oh, I want a tall, handsome, etc. But when they actually choose the guy, they look for the winner, the guy who's earning money, who's admired in his community, who's got high social status, etc. And the reason's obvious. I mean, at the end of the day, what does a man contribute to the relationship? He provides. And I'm afraid that's been going on for thousands of years. You know, it's not just money. Go into communities where there's no money, and you find that the men who are favored are the best hunters, the best farmers, the best herders. If you're looking in other parts of the world, it's always the ones who are most successful, regardless of whether it's money. But in our society, with money, it's money.
It's money. All right, I think it would be unfair to leave Sophia out of this, especially now that you've mentioned that, you know, women, when you reverse it, as you put it, and Sophia, there's the feeling mostly.
Yes, I like how you're just asking me like this expert. And
no.
Just a disclaimer, I'm not an expert, I'll just
No, I just want to know
it.
from your perspective.
Yes.
I know you sit down with the girls and you guys discuss, and, you know, sometimes you're looking for the man, and I'm sure you have those tete-a-tetes where you have that conversation. But there's also a feeling in the men folk that women are constantly looking for the good car, the nice car, the good job, you know, a good wallet, a fat wallet. Somebody once said that I'm not normally this tall, it's just that I'm sitting on my wallet that I've become this tall. So are you looking for that height in terms of the wallet?
What I'll say for most women, I think the consideration is that stability, and stability for many is translated to mean monetary, that this is a person who can take care of certain bills. However, then where the issue comes is because there are those who simply care about the money. So there's no romance. I'm not going to love you if you don't have cash money. But you find very many women who are in good marriages today and are successful with their husbands, who got married when this person showed potential, the up-and-coming man. You can see he's painting pictures and he's working towards making them a reality. So that you would not say is someone pursuing money. So for a woman at the end of it all, and it's not a bad thing to want to be stable, so women should not be demonized, you know, for wanting to be in a stable relationship that's looking upwards. However, it should not mean that they now sit back and all the money is coming from this guy. But I think it's an okay thing as long as it's not being viewed from a simply materialistic perspective and also just gold digging, but just to have a better life. Who doesn't want to have a better life? And money plays a key role in that.
In having that. Yeah. Okay. Pastor Tony, she paints a very nice picture of what I'd call visionary. Ideal. Ideal. Sometimes I've had ladies sometimes say, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, that it's not the money they're looking for, but the potential. That this person at least has direction. They look like they know where they're going. And even if they don't have money now, it'll come. In terms, and we also had a guest earlier on who mentioned and said that one of the biggest conflicts we have in relationships is values. Could it be that many times when it comes to money, our issue is not per se the money, but the value system that we have placed on money?
I think what is talking about is the ideal situation. But it's also important to remember that we are wired differently, men and women. As my colleague here said, it's true. For men, beauty is a key thing.
We're visual.
Exactly. But I also want to say that women in the animal kingdom, even among lions, you know, or whatever, even peacocks, you know, the lady struts, shows herself so that she can be attractive. But the guy who wins, the king, the Simba, the hero, the Jogo, you know, is the one who gets the girl. And that's animal kingdom, that's natural instinct. But I think now we have come to the place where we have put shillings and cents to that element, where now materialism, and I want to say this, Mike, we've known each other for a while, and you've heard me say, you know what, numbers don't lie. That's the truth. You know, you either believe in numbers, statistics, or witchcraft. And my argument is, you know, I have been a pastor ordained since 2002 now, and as I began, and slightly before that, I noticed that people got married younger, you know, in their early 20s and mid-20s. Now, most marriages that I'm officiating now, they are in their later 20s and early 30s and mid-30s. Why? It's because of materialism. You know, the guy says, you know what, I don't want to get married until I am stable, so that I'm able to take care of this wife. Okay, then the wife says, you know what, they basically believe the lie. That and it's true, and I'm saying this, believe the lie in the sense that, just let me explain why. I met there's this young lady that I've known for a number of years, and they were in a discussion in a forum like this, and she said, I believed the lie, and she went to school, worked hard, got her first degree in medicine, her master's. She's now up there somewhere. And by the time she had finished conquering the academic world and felt settled, she was in her mid-30s. And at that particular point, looking for a guy to marry her at the same level becomes difficult. And I remember this lady looking straight into my eyes and told me, you know what, Tony, I believe the lie. Because the guys in my class just stopped at one point, looked back, found a girl in college and married and moved on. For me, I can't just look back, find a guy in college and get married to.
And I guess for the ladies, for the person who'd be her age to marry her would probably have already gotten married a long time ago. Okay, Chris, used goods.
He's absolutely right, of course. I mean, it's a worldwide trend. It's driven by the education of women. Women, as they get educated, They bought the story that go out and get a job, and of course, why not? And a lot of them have left it too late. That's the real tragedy. If a woman isn't really seriously thinking about marriage at around about age 30, she is leaving it too late, because the men won't wait. They'll decide they want a family, they'll find somebody. They don't mind what her career is, so they'll find somebody who's ready to marry. That leaves the women who are really pursuing their career struggling to find a husband. And I mean, at the end of the day, why would any woman marry somebody who is not being successful? You know, I mean, it's not just money. It's why would you want to be with somebody who doesn't have successful attitudes? Why would you want to be with somebody who's lazy, prefers to sit in front of the video all day? You know, you wouldn't, would you? So it's understandable why people behave the way they do.
Okay, love and money is what we're talking about, and you're welcome to participate in the conversation. Sophia, what would you describe as an ideal man away from the money? Because, I mean, is there a description?
Are there ideal men?
Are there ideal men without money? Because I'm sure there's some young people out there feeling the pressure. I don't have the job that I don't have the income that I would really want to have, but am I ideal?
You know, the pastor, Durotoye, who we had earlier, he was preaching on Sunday and was talking about how he recently celebrated his anniversary with his wife, and that he told his wife, "You must be crazy." And she was like, "Why?" Because looking at the wedding picture, he looked horrible. He looked beat. You know, like this guy who pretty much had no direction. But right now they're doing so well. So I think it boils down to what really you're looking for in terms of a person, and looking at those things we were talking about earlier. Are you seeing, because he kept saying that the wife told him that you used to draw pictures that I saw becoming life, that I saw becoming real. So is an ideal man without money? Yes, there is. Money is not everything, but is there an ideal man that's lazy? That's not ideal. An ideal man who, I mean, a man who just wants to be there and be taken care of and by a woman, or just have things happen, that doesn't take place. So you want a person who's focused, who shows potential. I think it all goes back to ukiangalia hivi unaona hope ama ni tu.
I think, Mike.
I think we'll take a call from George in Kisumu, then I'll come back to you, Pastor Tony. George in Kisumu, good morning.
Good morning, Gitam.
Yes, go right ahead, sir.
This is just normal, George. Okay, I'm just saying, I have a concern and a question.
Okay.
First, a concern is that you find that love and money, I don't think if these things can make a permanent relationship. It's just like a temporary relationship, because you'll find that a woman or a man can love because they love that money. And this, when money fades off, this relationship will automatically fall apart.
Okay.
It's just like maybe it is like a factory producing gift, because you're just thinking of that money. And how can we help that person who has been stayed in a relationship because of money to make a normal life if money is not there? That's my question.
All right. Thank you, George. And I guess what he's trying to say, if I can paraphrase it, is that sometimes money may look like it holds a relationship together, minus that money. So the relationship was there when the money is there. As soon as the money, you know, for one reason or the other is not there, that relationship seems to fall apart. Is that true? And
I think, Mike, we want to say this, that money is an integral part, but money in itself is a means to an end. You know, it's something that you use to achieve certain ends. You get what I'm saying? But I want to say this, Mike. A few years ago, the nation of Rwanda, the president of Rwanda and the cabinet, they realized that there was a serious problem. Marriages were falling apart right, left, and center. And so they called the church and asked, hey, people, what are you doing about this situation? It's getting out of hand. It's the same situation in Kenya. You know, marriages are falling apart right, left, and center. And interestingly, and my colleague will bear me witness, some of the people who are going to him, they're not looking for shillings and cents. They already have shillings and cents. So they already have the money. But now they have significant problems, because when you have money, one of the characteristics of having money is that you want to maintain and sustain it. And you have to work extremely hard to make it work. And you only have 8 hours in a day, but you know, you want to stretch it to coming home 8, 9, 10 in the evening. You want to have networks. you know, so that's going to golf, so you're never home for the kids, you're flying around the world because it's become a global village. And even some of your bosses may be here, you know, they're halfway around the world. So when are you ever home? You get what I'm saying? When are you ever home to be with your wife? But I want to say this, the one thing that holds a marriage together is love. And love is not rational.
Okay.
And I can tell you, there are many of us, when we fell in love as young, you know, love is they say love is blind. You know, it's also foolish. It's irrational. You know, you fall in love in high school, you love this girl, you're head over heels, you want to elope. When your parents say anything contrary, they become the enemy.
I'll cut you short there. Wow. Yeah, love is blind and has a touch of madness. We'll take a call from Elizabeth in Mombasa. Good morning, Elizabeth.
Morning, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
I want to appreciate Pastor Kiama.
Mm-hmm.
He played a big role in my son's youth group. My son grew up straight because of him in ICC Mombasa Road.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Now, as we grow as girls or as boys, we interact with either gender. And if you miss your opportunity to connect in the early 20s,
Mm-hmm.
then it becomes rather difficult as you go on to meet somebody and make a connection.
Correct.
That your chances get reduced. So most of us, I got married at 25, 26.
Mm-hmm.
My husband didn't have money, but I saw the potential in terms of we agreed on certain things.
Mm-hmm.
We were in the same career, we were reading together, and we saw ourselves growing up together in the career, and we partnered, we married, and we became managers.
Okay.
Later. So money came secondary at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Most of my friends who got married at that point in the early 20s, the men didn't have money. But you could work together.
Okay.
Bring your money, I bring my money, let's buy a house, let's buy a car. That's how we started.
All right.
But the girls of today
Mm-hmm.
want a ready man. Akona gari. I have friends who dropped their boyfriends because they didn't have a car.
Mm-hmm.
So it became difficult, and most of them didn't get married
Mm-hmm.
because that guy didn't have a car. I know a guy who was dropped because he didn't have a car.
Okay.
Guess what? He's driving an 18 million machine right now.
Okay, somebody missed the potential right there. Thank you, Elizabeth. We get your drift. Thank you very much. We are now Alex from Nairobi. Good morning, Alex.
I'm good.
Yes, Alex. Go right ahead. Your question or comment?
My comment is, I've seen a trend that guys don't have role models from which they can emulate or get inspiration from.
Sorry, Alex, I'm not getting you quite clearly.
I'm saying that guys today, especially the young generation,
So, go on.
do not have role models that we can emulate from. So that you're finding guys finishing campus, guys finishing college paths, they don't know how to get along in terms of skills, in terms of relationships, they're no role models. So
To pattern after.
You know,
Okay.
especially now that there are no jobs, the guy has no work, he has no skills, he has nothing, you know, he's just there.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you very much, Alex. And Chris, interesting there, Elizabeth was mentioning that for her, she saw the potential in the husband. She's comfortable now. But I think something she mentions is that the relationship, I mean, the money was secondary. First was the relationship. How does one handle that? Yet, money today is almost an exchange value for somebody's potential.
Well, it is in a way. I mean, an ideal person is passionate about what they do. And if you are passionate about what you do and you work really hard at it, more or less the money will come. And if you are that way round, if that's what drives you, your work drives you and the money comes, that's the way to live your life. If you're the other way round, all you care about is getting money and you'll do anything to get it. I think you can see that leads to a whole raft of very unpleasant values. So if you only go looking for a husband on the basis that there is lots of money there, you're probably marrying a crook. It would be better to marry somebody who is passionate, who works very hard, who's obviously admired by all their colleagues. You can more or less take the money for granted then, it will come. And of course that's what people do when they marry young. Young people do not have a lot of money. They probably don't have the cars yet or the flash houses or what have you. But you can see them working hard, and so you know that they're going to lead the right sort of life. If that happens, fine.
Okay. Now, one of the things that you've mentioned is that career plays a huge role, and I want to bring in Sophia here because she's successful in her career. She's doing well, and I'm not asking as
I didn't realize I was.
no, you are doing well, and you've got great potential. But yeah, in that regard, and I'm not asking now as an expert, but just as a lady, what would your perspective be if you had to take care of the man? Because you're maybe earning well, you've built your career over time, but here he is, maybe he's got potential, but you're the one paying the bills at the moment. Would you have such a man?
Let's talk about Woman X. So
All right,
Woman X would look at this issue. No, it's interesting you say that because somebody's talking about here, Damien Obonyo has just tweeted, if most ladies don't look for money, why is it that financially stable ladies are single? Because the issue then becomes when you're the stable woman and the man is not, first, is this person comfortable with you taking care of them? Because many men will have issues with that. They'll not want to go out because when they go out, and yes, you're willing to pay, but because of their ego, they feel that, you know, now you're making them look bad. There are those nowadays who are very comfortable with being taken care of. They'll drive your car, say, baby, I'll drop you to work with your car, and then he'll go drive around with it. But I think you can do it for as long as it's not the thing that will happen for all of your life. Yeah, I think it's not the way it's supposed to work. I think the order of God is that the man is still the head. There needs to be that sense. Even you find when, say for example, your wife is the president, there's a certain level of still that submission. And I guess submission, and maybe I'm being crazy here, should apply even in monetary ways.
Monetary.
We shall submit our finances.
How does one handle that? And is it true that, like Sophia says, it's a God-given responsibility for the man to provide? And that's why maybe in the olden days we'd see him as the hunter, whereas the woman, you know, she would just wait for the carcass of the deer or whatever would be brought home.
It is true that it is the responsibility of the man to provide, but in the world that we are living in, the marketplace, it's possible that you all start at the same level and the lady gets promoted for one reason or the other, and they make 10 times more than you do. And in most cases, what I have come to realize in situations like that, I want to say that it has generated problems. Not all, but many have brought problems where the woman makes more money than the man, because now the situation, of course, the fact that I make more money, then I'll drive a better car, and you know, in society, you know, men will start, you know, teasing the other guy. Oh, Allah, so your wife is the one who's, you know, is the king.
Wearing the pants.
Drives the Mercedes, and you're driving the Sandero.
And naturally, if you're the one bringing in the money, you have somewhat the control.
Yeah, you should, you know, but in a mature situation where the lady is mature and the man is mature, then you will come to that place where you come to an understanding. You know, this is our life, not the life of other people. This is how we want to fashion our life. So we might not get to a place where you're driving a very cheap car and this one is driving the, you know, the latest,
top of the range.
Exactly, for SUV. So you will come to a place where it's standardized. So there is a bit of uniformity, even in terms of society. But I want to say this, that it's important, Mike, to say this, that in the life that we are living in today, most people are not getting married for love. They're getting married for security and for lust. This man is looking for this girl for sex. And that's why we are getting into situations where most people are getting married. 40 years ago, there was not premarital sex. You know, it was not as rampant as it is today. And I want to say this, there are consequences to having sex before marriage. You can't play yourself. You can't steal from your own pocket. You get what I'm saying? And I want to say this, when you break that, then when somebody says, I love you, and instead of saying, I love you back, you remove your pants, you know, either way, I think for me, that's where the problem is. Because immediately you engage in sex, then you stop, common sense it's like it checks out. And I want to say this, most of the people who have struggled in their marriage, when you look back, and maybe our counselor here will bear witness, when you look back, these problems didn't begin in marriage. They were there in courtship. But because you brought in the component of sex, then, you know, common sense tended to check off. And I want to say this. Scripture says in 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 8, above all, continue to love each other deeply, because love covers over a multitude of sin. Mike, when you love someone, you overlook some of the, you know, challenges they have even in marriage, because no one is perfect, Mike. And when we get into marriage, and when you say I do, you're not saying I do to an angel. You're saying I do to a human being who will make mistakes. But at that particular point, you get into marriage assuming they will never make those mistakes. So when they do make those mistakes, you hear people say, how could you do that? How could you? But the question is, they're human. They will make mistakes. All right, and I want to conclude by saying this. There's this song that I've heard in weddings, and it's a stupid song. Because you're here, heaven is missing an angel or two. I want to make it clear. No one marries an angel. She might look in that dress like an angel, but she's not an angel. In that suit, he might look flashy, but he's not. He will make mistakes. But when you love them, it's easier to forgive and to let go.
All right, Chris, do you agree that love can actually cover the financial, you know, sort of imbalance, especially given that the man innately is almost created to provide, to be the defender, to be the one that makes that call, and almost be in control? Although, you know, even when God created Eve, I believe he said he has created a helpmeet, so he needs to have some form of control. Do you agree that love would cover that?
I wish it could, but in practice, it doesn't seem to. I think, I mean, life is practical. Life is something you have to live it, and you have to pay the school fees, and you have to get along together, and all the other things, and those are practical things. And the plain fact is, when you look at what goes wrong in marriages, if you find that they are insecure, if the marriage has endless financial crises, especially if the man is lazy, it will end. They will fall out. All sorts of difficulties will happen. And even when couples try very hard, you know, you do get situations where a woman is very successful. Maybe they've made a decision, a conscious decision, that she will earn and he will stay home and look after the children. Guess what happens? He gets bored. He starts talking to the other mothers at the school gate, and before you know it, all sorts of curious things are starting to happen. It always seems to go wrong. Yes. I hate to sound like a traditionalist, but the traditional pattern of a man providing, going out to work, and the woman focusing on the family, albeit working, does seem to work better. It does work well.
Okay. Pastor Tony, closing comments on the way forward for those who maybe are in a relationship where finances are a problem, and maybe they have not been open to each other, because that's the other thing. Sometimes people don't actually open up to, you know, their finances. One is earning a certain amount, the other is earning, and there's no agreement in between the finance. What would your advice to them be?
I think for me is that the fact that, you know, marriage is a living unit, and it takes two to tango. And so you have to be open to each other in terms of sharing information and coming to an understanding that this is where we want to go as a family, not as an individual. And with that, then I want to say that it is important that you come to a place where you agree that even if you make more money, this is how we shall handle money in our family. And once that has been done, then it doesn't matter what other people will say or what other people, you know, will do out there. But once you have an understanding, because the money can go away, Mike, you can lose a job. But if you're struggling together, if you're working together, if you're winning together, then you become a winning team.
Absolutely. Okay, Sophia, I don't know if there's any question that you'd have wanted to ask the men folk.
Very, very quickly, because in a situation where everything is working as it should, the man is providing, you're all happy, and then say the man loses the job and everything goes haywire. What do you tell someone in that kind of a situation?
Well, I think that happens.
Yeah.
It's quite common. And if it happens and the couple are completely open about it, discuss everything, and the man strives very hard to find another job, and I hate to say this, succeeds, then it will just be one of those little trips you have in your life, and it'll be fine. But if he instead just starts to get lazy, loses heart, takes to the bottle, I think you know where things are going to go. He has to succeed. At the end of the day, the man has to succeed.
Okay, we'll end it there. But I think the most important thing is to have those conversations, right? To talk about money.
And if you get those conversations and you feel like you're not going anywhere, that's where you need help.
So you can bring in a counselor.
You bring in a counselor.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us. Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us. And you at home, we also appreciate your participation. As always, it's always a pleasure to have you with us here. And yeah, this is where we conclude it.